Hey cunts, it's your friendly neighborhood edgelord, Hoodie Demon. I just put down an Ancom furry who doesn't understand the concept of voting with your wallet. If you like what you see, feel free to check out my channel. It would mean the world to me.
Hello, thank you for watching another video. Today I'll be going over the voting with your dollars fallacy.
Okay, we're not off to a good start with this one. There's a very, very good reason why it's called voting with your wallet and not voting with your dollars, because those two things are very different. I'm going to be explaining that reason as the video goes on, but just remember that.
The fallacy is an appeal to emotion type argument which relies on ignoring reality, basically.
The idea of voting by way of ceasing to fund something that you disagree with and trying to get others to do the same is not an appeal to emotion. Oh, and apparently that ignores reality. Nice job starting off by poisoning the well. Really intellectually honest of you.
You see, it presents a situation which exists in a vacuum that ignores the real-world costs of living. Such an example would be, let's say there are two identical t-shirts, one made in a cheap sweatshop factory, so it only costs like $2 to buy, and then you've got a ethically created t-shirt where all the workers got the proper living conditions, the proper paychecks, and the good, safe factory conditions. Woo-woo, hippie fantastic is just a perfect t-shirt.
I like how you conveniently forgot to mention that those sweatshop jobs that exist in a world where voting with your wallet would be the only way to vote are completely voluntary jobs, and nobody is forcing those people to take those jobs. There is competition. There is no copyright law. Your product can be made by 1,000 other people. And if their conditions are better, and their wages are better, and their benefits are better, you are perfectly free to leave your job and go join them. If it's a factory job creating t-shirts, there can't be that much of a difference in the qualifications you need to work at that job.
From an ethical standpoint. But this one is like $20. Now, what happens in the fallacy is the person using it will say, well, of course you would pay the extra money to get the ethically made t-shirt, therefore you vote with your dollars, and then the economy will bend to your will like the magic of the Force because they think an invisible hand is just gonna come out of nowhere and grab them by the pussy.
Outdated joke. And nobody since the days of Adam Smith has claimed that an invisible hand runs the marketplace. The marketplace is run by demand of the consumer. And anyone who has actually taken the time to study economics as a whole, then you know that there are certain patterns which appear in the marketplace under certain conditions. Provided, of course, those conditions are not interfered with by government.
Now, here's the problem with the fallacy.
You keep calling it a fallacy over and over and over, and you've said that it ignores reality like 3 times. If I didn't know any better, I'd say the only person you're trying to convince of that is yourself. And that's not like it's unlikely. Ludwig von Mises once said that the reason people get so dogmatic and go into a fanboy rage about defending their critique of capitalism is because they're trying to render inaudible the voice in their head that's telling them their failure is entirely their fault.
Real world, you don't just have a vacuum of one purchase that never has an effect on anything else. My t-shirts alone would cost me like $100 for just 5 of them, so it's not even one for each day of the week. That's lovely. That's not going to subtract from the money I have available to, say, buy food with or pay rent with.
Yeah, and you know who you have to thank for that? Our lovely government who's implementing all these regulations for companies, which sends production costs through the roof, which raises the price of the final object. Oh, and in order to make up for that loss in profits, they can keep expanding business. You know what they're forced to do? Pay their workers less.
If I apply that logic to my pants, that I'm gonna buy ethically created pants, well, there's $200 down the drain. 200. Then we apply this logic onto my food supply and only buy the ethically created, locally grown fruits and vegetables. And that's even more money going down the drain. Money that I just am not going to have by the time I need to pay my rent.
Oh, but it's the people that support the idea of voting with your wallets that are making the appeals to emotion. Right, got it. Oh, and let's address this income situation. Voting with your wallet is pretty much an anarcho-capitalist thing. So let's examine the income situation in an anarcho-capitalist society. By default, you are making double what you are making now because you are not paying any taxes. Items will be cheaper by a bare minimum of at least a fourth because there will be no sales tax, thus production costs will go down some. With no copyright law, that means everybody can make the exact same product in a certain field, which means cutthroat competition. Prices will be lower than ever. Companies will be fighting to keep their prices as low as they can. And on top of that, I will argue that a CEO is the most important person in a company until the day I die. But I do not disagree with communists when they say that the workers are the ones that keep the company afloat. And if they leave, that company is going bankrupt because no one's going to want to work for them if they have a reputation that they're so bad all their workers left. So, wages will be higher than ever, along with working conditions, by the way. Under all of those circumstances, you would have to be more incompetent than Goofy combined with the Three Stooges in order to not be able to afford $20 articles of clothing.
Again, real world does not support the use of ethical consumerism.
When you look at a situation so myopically that you can't even see your own 2 feet when you look down, yeah.
I am economically incentivized to get the cheapest possible product. And the cheapest possible product is the unethical sweatshop factory clothing and the prepackaged cheap fucking ramen.
They're free to leave and get a better job with better conditions at any time, especially in an anarcho-capitalist society. How is it unethical? And don't you fucking dare insult ramen. Ramen is delicious.
These are what gives me the most money to work with for my own personal gain. Now, if we were to compare this with Bill Gates, for example, who has a metric shitload of money to throw around due to his most popular virus, Windows 10, we can see he's got plenty of say when it comes to voting with your wallet.
How? To steal an example from that guy T, if a company doesn't want to filter roach droppings out of their cereal because it's cheaper not to do that, if Bill Gates decides to stop buying that company's cereal, he has no more power over that company than the guy who makes $10 an hour who decides to stop buying their cereal. And need I remind you, no copyright law, so if you like that cereal, you can go 2 feet down the street and go to the store who is selling that exact same cereal, who actually filtered out the roach droppings because they thought it was a good idea to do that.
He could buy 100 ethically homemade t-shirts, or he could buy like 400 Italian luxury t-shirts and just tell both of the economies to go fuck themselves.
The economy is a zero-sum game, genius. Every single dollar that a company takes in, they have to, at some point, put it back into the economy. Because if they don't, then without government bailouts, that company's going under.
The people who have the rich end of the stick get more votes than the poor end of the stick.
No, they absolutely do not. Are you forgetting that 1% means 1% of the population? I don't care if the rich have a literally infinite supply of money. There's not enough time in the day for them to make enough purchases to outpurchase the 99%.
If the poor end of the stick even has permission to have a vote in the market. The popular rebuttal to this in regard is that a shitload of poor people is going to make a bigger change to economic trends than one rich person.
Hey, it came full circle. By the way, why would the poor not be allowed to vote with their wallets? A company's only means of staying above water is profit, and they're gonna bar a certain demographic from giving them that means to stay above water? I think there's a hole in your logic there, buddy.
But we can clearly see that even all of these poor people combined, their impact is very soft and very weak. These people are not going to be able to afford the bigger things, better things, because again, they have less to work with.
It's not about how much money you have, it's about the amount of purchases you make. I don't care if the rich hired a team of people to go on Amazon and buy everything. There is absolutely no way 1% of the population is going to make more purchases than 99% of the population. It's just not mathematically possible.
You have to organize basically 99% of the population to buy one thing. The rebuttal makes no fucking sense.
No, you don't. The free market runs on democracy. If people do not like something, they will not buy it. It is as simple as that. And what rebuttal makes no sense, Shepard? The straw man rebuttal you just presented for me?
The rebuttal... The only thing the rebuttal can actually say is that 99% of the population is stuck in a situation where they have to be in favor of something detrimental to society as a whole and themselves.
No copyright law breeds infinite competition. Listen to that over and over until you finally understand.
And to the conditions of people worldwide by purchasing the cheapest possible items to get through their daily lives.
Which would not only be a lot cheaper, but a lot higher quality if the government would stop giving subsidies to companies that are about to go under because people are trying to boycott them so they'll stop selling their shitty and or inhumane products.
Where the rich people are allowed to say and vote on whatever the fuck they feel like. Even if we assume that yes, they are willingly voting for something, your argument states that 99% of the people are voting in favor of something really fucking shitty.
No, that's what your straw man argument is saying.
Do you not see how, and this isn't by their choice either, they're not wanting to support these sweatshop factories out in China. They're not wanting to do this. In order to vote, or at least meaningfully vote, you have to want or be in favor of the thing.
No, you absolutely do not. What the fuck is the difference between a vote and a meaningful vote? In today's society, the politician still gets the vote, or in Ancapistan, the company would still lose money because someone decided to not buy their product, or because someone decided to vote for that politician. The outcome is still the same.
That you're voting for, not stuck with that decision, or effectively die, go hungry, or fucking walk around naked.
Wow. It's ironic that you just said that, because a little Anicom logo on your neckerchief there, yeah, everything you just described, that's exactly what happened in the Soviet Union. Who cares if it wasn't real communism? It happened because people had the idea to implement communism. And that was the result.
I think that's the worst The third one is probably the worst situation out of all of them. Nobody wants to see you walking around flopping all over the place.
Then you better put people in a free market society where they can all afford clothing, even if it is cheap clothing. Because like you said, no one wants to see you walking around flopping all over the place. Or, we could just put them in a communist society where inevitably the government that was supposed to vanish will have to end up rationing clothing and food out to people because there's such mass shortages, because now the profit is gone, nobody has any incentive to create, therefore the economy is physically incapable of producing goods as fast as demand is demanding them. Demand is demanding them. That felt weird to say. God, remember back in the days before Tumblr seeped into the surface world? When furries were the most hated thing on the internet? God, those were such simpler times, weren't they? Anyway, like I said, if you like my stuff, feel free to check me out. That'd be awesome. See ya.